Live from Rialto, California, Mark Flores presents the SummerSlam 2016 and NXT Takeover 2 Brooklyn predictions. Here's your host, none other than the man, Mark Flores. Thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast, starring none other than your host, Mark Flores. Live in the flesh, direct in effect, Rialto, California. We're dealing with SummerSlam 2016, and we're dealing with NXT TakeOver 2 predictions. What possible outcomes can we expect out of SummerSlam 2016? But before we get into that detail, let's get the commercials out of the way. Tonight's Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by none other than Game Swappers. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade your retro games and next-gen consoles. That's PS4 and Xbox One. You can come into contact with Game Swappers via Instagram at GAMESWAPPERS. That's GAMESWAPPERS. Game Swappers, buy, sell, and trade. Keep in mind, guys, that if you do share the Pay-Per-Review Wrestling Podcast, Retro Collecting 101 Podcast, or the very hilarious Mark and Andre Show, the only film, entertainment, and conspiracy theory show on Spreaker.com. If you share any which one of those podcasts, you'll be able to get 10% off towards your retro game purchase, or you'll be able to get 10% more towards your retro game trade-ins. Simply take a screenshot of what you shared through any means of social media, show the people working there at Game Swappers that day, and you'll be able to get 10% off towards your retro game purchase, or you'll be able to get 10% more towards your retro game trade-ins. Sounds like a deal to you, it sounds like a deal to me, and it's good business for Game Swappers. Anyway, guys, so SummerSlam 2016, from the match card that I have right now as of today, this glorious Tuesday, right after SmackDown Live, we're only a few days away from it on Sunday, and from what I can see is that this is a very stacked card. So stacked, in fact, that it actually triumphs over SummerSlam, and it probably will triumph over the next major pay-per-view come Royal Rumble, probably. But this is something to appreciate, because now we actually have a match card that's actually presentable. It's actually a match card that is worth advertising for. We have several headlining features. It's hard to note down that John Cena is so deep low on the match card that all these other matches are going to go after it. It's pretty good to know that. This actually shows that the WWE actually has healthy talent, and it actually gives you more confidence to see the newer faces, who else has opportunities to show up here when it comes to SummerSlam, etc., etc. I'm definitely going to enjoy this match card. It's a little bit better than the match card that was on the previous SummerSlam last year. So it definitely is focusing more on the wrestling, more on the prestige of the match card itself, and that's something I can definitely appreciate, and that's something I could definitely write home about. It actually gives me a lot more reason to talk about it, just because it's so you're looking at Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, AJ Styles versus John Cena, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, tons of other matches. And you know what? Matter of fact, let's go into the match cards right now, and then I'll give you guys a perspective on what to expect. And we'll also follow that with the conclusion of what I think might happen. The last two pay-per-views, I got a few of them wrong. I got the majority of them right. But let's hope I can go for. I'm still hoping I can get an actual perfect score here for a pay-per-view. I want to keep a streak of that going. So, the first match on the card, we have Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, also known as Jericho. At this moment in time, both teams really don't have much to lose. Team Jericho, which consists of Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, both have nothing to lose in the regard of that they're just going to be a tag team, and this is just an instant attached tag team. There's not really a prestige. There's not really an attachment going on with this team itself. It's not going to carry itself over the long run. So you'll definitely see this break off sometime a couple months later when they both have their own match after they break up. But Enzo Amore and Big Cass, they need to stay together as long as possible. They are the yin to each other's yang. So as of this match right now, both teams essentially have nothing to lose because this tag team affair is non-title. There's no number one contender to worry about in this match either. But each tag team has had great back and forth when it comes to their promos. The crowd will be immediately attracted to the event just because of the fact that Enzo and Cass are both local boys. The kids, the teens, definitely love what Enzo and Cass are doing, and then the adults definitely still enjoy what Enzo and Cass do, but they also enjoy what Kevin Owens brings to the table, and they also enjoy what Chris Jericho does as well. He's been a very relevant heel for a long time, and it's very impressive that he's actually kept a variety of characters going as far as he has, Chris Jericho. I can say that in the beginning of this match, it would be a great promo done by Enzo Amore and Big Cass, followed by that of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. The way I can predict this, what you can expect is that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho are going to double team and just keep Enzo in their corner for a long time until Big Cass gets the hot tag. And then what ends up happening is that either Kevin Owens or Chris Jericho when they either one of them hits their finish and they win clean over Enzo and Cass. WWE usually likes doing this to people in their hometown. They usually like having the heels go over just to gain some heat over at many of events. They've done it when Edge lost in Toronto in a TLC match with John Cena. So I don't expect I expect the same thing going on right here. Team Jericho is gonna win by shading means to build a feud for another pay-per-view. I think it's gonna last one more pay-per-view and then that's it. But that's all I can see coming out of the gate with this team, with this match so far. That's the only thing I can say off the end. But it'd be a great, entertaining first match because both teams have the gift of gab to cut a good promo before the event to get everyone all riled up. The next match that we have on the docket here is the New Day versus Anderson and Gallows. The New Day have a lot riding on this match itself because Big E, I believe, is not going to be cleared to fight that night, so it's going to be Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Both of them are going to be obviously outsized by Gallows. So Anderson and Gallows don't have much to lose since they're both still fresh out of the gate. I think both teams are cutting great promos. Anderson and Gallows with their ring post-itis segments have been quite hilarious, and I do enjoy the puns that they do and provide. The Anderson and Gallows and New Day were able to match each other promo for promo these few weeks building up towards Summerslam. So this has been very enjoyable. This has been a very enjoyable feud coming from the both tag teams. I really what to expect on this match. Expect a show from Anderson and Gallows, just because this is going to be the main stage of which they technically actually debut. I know they did beat the Usos at the last pay-per-view at Battleground. So what I want to see is I definitely want to see them go up for the higher tier talent. You know, they need to. They're facing the New Day, the champion, so they need to be convincing to either dethrone them a day before a year completes their tag team title anniversary, or they end up, still keeping it very close, but the New Day end up retaining, and they end up losing the titles on Monday Night Raw. The two scenarios that I have is that either Anderson and Gallows win, gain heat, cut the streak at 364 days, which is coming up on that WrestleMania, or the New Day retains, and then they end up losing to Anderson and Gallows on Monday Night Raw the very next day. The New Day and Anderson and Gallows will have a great match. They'll have the New Day probably retaining, so that's what I think at the end of that. So what I really want to get out with these two tag teams is that both of these tag teams are going to be the forefront of the division. So with that being said, both of them definitely have to have to up the ante as far as more promos go. They definitely have to mix and match it up. As far as being edgy, they have to take this PG era out in the past and actually build up to new and controversial segments. I want to see something between these two teams, because with the added rumor of the club brewing along, it's really, I really want this whole club thing to go with Anderson and Gallows, but I still want the New Day to thrive as tag team champions. I still want them to have the title. These guys have deserved it so long. But other than that, let's go on to the next match here. The next match we have on plan here is Roman Reigns versus Rusev. Now, these past couple weeks I've been surprised. Surprised to the point because to the point of I'm actually enjoying what Roman Reigns brings to the table as far as promos go. Excuse me. Both of these guys have been cutting fantastic build-ups towards SummerSlam weekend, and I really enjoy Rusev too, because Rusev is actually getting a lot more comfortable outside of his shell, and it's going to be even better when he's actually had his full potential. I can actually see more things coming out of Rusev, especially when he actually fully acclimates to that of his character, like the character that he needs to be. He sees it right now, but he needs that one more that one more characteristic that will take that character, the Bulgarian Brute, over the top. I definitely see it happening, but there's just one more thing, and I can't put my finger on it, but I know there's something missing. But it's very hilarious to see him. He is the ideal guy for the U.S. title. He's actually bringing relevancy to this very stagnant title. He's actually making you actually cheer for him in certain situations, but being a good heel as he is, he'll make sure that he reverts the whole crowd back to the form of where you need to actually hate the heel. He'll take it old school. Roman Reigns, at this point, I think that Roman Reigns' Adderall bust that he got busted for actually was the best thing that happened to him, because now I think this guy's actually eating his just desserts. I think he was at the top for a little too long, too much. I mean, he's won the Royal Rumble. He's been world heavyweight champion 3 times already, and I'm kind of hoping he doesn't win this U.S. title. I'll go into more detail with that, but what I mean is this is the slice of humble pie that Roman Reigns needs to eat, because at this point, if you take him back up from the U.S. title down to up to the world heavyweight title, this can actually prove to be good for him, because now, I don't know, like maybe backstage he now knows that his job isn't guaranteed. You know, he's not going to be the baby face of the company if he continues doing this crazy crap of being busted for Adderall. But going back to my point, I think that this is the best thing that ever happened to him, because now we're looking at Roman Reigns developing, knowing that he needs to cut good promos in minor league titles just to get back up to that major league picture. What to expect out of this match? WWE's at an unfortunate crossroads with this match. And what I mean by that is this. Do they push Rusev? Do they keep going with this monster heel that's unstoppable? Or do they try and make Roman Reigns the one that dethrones the Bulgarian Brute? They're at this position where, well, Rusev is actually cutting great stuff. Do we keep him? Do we keep going with him, or do we do we do a title change and keep it on and get it to Roman Reigns so that he has another title? You know, does WWE want to have the gimmick where it leads up to a fatal 3-way at WrestleMania with the Shield, because all of them match tit for tat with titles, because all of them, if Roman Reigns wins the title at SummerSlam, all 3 members of the Shield will have held the world title, the U.S. title, and they all have been tag team champions. So this is like a triple crown type of title situation that builds up to WrestleMania. So I think they might be going with that, but who knows? After watching Roman take a win on Monday Night Raw, I think that we're all seeing the fact of I think we're all seeing Rusev taking an L at SummerSlam. I think that's what we're gonna do, but it's unfortunate because Rusev was building such a great program with Roman Reigns. Who knows what we're going to see, but more than likely we're going to have Roman Reigns take the belt at SummerSlam to dethrone the Bulgarian Brute, Rusev. let's take the next match on the card here with The Miz versus Apollo Crews. Now, I don't know if you guys remember. If you guys recall a while back on my NXT call-ups, my 5 NXT call-ups next year, then I got most of them correct, with Apollo Crews being one of the guys that they needed to pick up. You'll soon realize that Apollo Crews is now in the title picture today. He's in the title picture with a great heel in The Miz. And it will bring, let me put it this way, it will bring America tons of pleasure to see The Miz lose the IC title at SummerSlam. You know, a high-stakes title, now a high-stakes title because it's been built up by The Miz for so long, but now it's at a high-stakes pay-per-view. But the only thing that we're dealing with is that promo-wise and build-up-wise, that Apollo Crews is low stakes. I don't know whether or not this is a smart idea from WWE to actually give Apollo Crews the victory at SummerSlam, but it seems like it might be going that way. Apollo Crews is the happy-go-lucky guy, and then The Miz is the braggadocio Intercontinental Champion. He holds that Intercontinental Champion. He portrays it as it being the only thing that he holds near and dear now at this point. So the only thing that doesn't convince me is that Apollo Crews is Intercontinental Champion at this point in time, based on all of what he's done, has been unconvincing. Yes, his wrestling moveset, I could tell you, I could speak volumes about Apollo Crews' moveset, how great he is athletically. But the thing is that you need to have, in the WWE, as far as entertainment goes, you need to have both characteristics. You need to have the wrestling moveset, and you also need the outside ring work as far as the microphone goes. So who knows whether or not WWE is actually going to go with Apollo Crews winning over at SummerSlam. But the feud between these two is really not stellar at all. The build up, because they actually had SmackDown without Apollo Crews on this Tuesday on SmackDown Live, which was kind of odd to me. So it was just extremely odd. But anyway, hopefully something happens when it's all said and done at the end of this match, especially when I have the expectations. I have a feeling that these two will do their best to steal the show. I hope that they can, because the feud leading up doesn't correlate along with what they can do with the match itself. The build up won't be as good as the end product, I believe. Because Apollo Crews, he can go. The Miz can go too. He can sell. He's a very above average wrestler. I just hope that Apollo Crews can, put on, from what I expect, Apollo Crews is going to put on a great dense, moveset heavy match with The Miz. The Miz might be able to go tit for tat on some things, but there's just things Apollo Crews can do that The Miz can't. Hopefully that gets put on full display. This is the time that Apollo Crews gets his name on the forefront to win the title. Yes, I'm saying it. I think Apollo Crews is going to win the title at SummerSlam, so you can put me down for that. I hope so. I really hope so. I have high expectations for Apollo Crews, but one thing I need from the man is that I need the man's mic skills to just go all the way up. Like I need his shit being twofold. I enjoy the guy a lot. He's a great wrestler, fantastic talent, but that's what I need from him. The next match we have on the card here is John Cena versus AJ Styles. This is the rematch we've all been waiting for after Battleground. This is the one thing that's been building up from Battleground the most, more than any other match we have today. The build-up doesn't rival that of Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar, but that is just acclaim and fame superseding their actual movesets and expectations. There's a lot more value to AJ Styles and John Cena wrestling than Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. But anyway, both John Cena and AJ Styles have been going at it promo-wise together for the last few weeks. They've been going tit for tat, and I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing both of them go at it like this is one more time and no time else. This is going to be the last hurrah. With John looking on the outside of WWE rather more than the inside, I think this is AJ Styles' time to dethrone John Cena, and actually be the forefront of SmackDown. Be the actual guy. AJ needs to put on a great match followed with a hard-earned victory to be the top dog of the SmackDown brand. I really do think that AJ Styles has the potential to be the forefront of SmackDown Live. If AJ Styles can win convincingly and clean as a heel, get more heat and steamroll the rest of the SmackDown brand, he'll have a Warrior-esque jetpack to the main event picture at WrestleMania. I can see it now, but I need creative behind that as well. That's the only thing. So, but what I can tell you on the moveset, from the expectations, is that you can expect a tough moveset crazy match that takes the duration of the show. I think this match is going to be the most time-consuming match. I have AJ winning clean over John Cena. At this point, John Cena can just put over talent and still cut a promo that, as he's at The Rock and Stone Cold level, where after he loses a match, he can just go on to the next thing without a worry. So that's what I think is going to happen. I don't think the club is going to get involved, really. I just don't, because they have been alienated so much on different brands. That's what I think as far as that goes there. But I need AJ Styles to win this as far as SummerSlam goes. It's very important for AJ Styles to win it. As far as John Cena goes, he's at a position, like I mentioned earlier, where he can put over talent, and it's just he can just wipe his hands clean of the situation, and that's it. So that's all I can expect out of that. I think this match is going to be the most spectacular match of all SummerSlam. So I just need this one to be as good as the last one, maybe even better with a couple more spots. But that's about it. I can tell you about that one. I wish there was some sort of title on the line. That way we can build up some scenario here. But it's just non-title. But it's cool. I still want. AJ Styles versus John Cena a few years ago was only just a dream. The man of TNA versus the man of WWE. Who was going to go at it? There was tons of scenarios that you could have thought of with this match, but now it's actually happening within WWE, and that itself is incredible. The next match we have on the card is for the World Heavyweight title on the SmackDown brand. We're looking at Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose. And one thing I can tell you guys is that Dean Ambrose has put himself in a position via the podcast and via promos where it kind of looks like it's going to go Dolph Ziggler's way. I really hope so. I think Dean Ambrose is nothing more than just a placeholder for the World Heavyweight title. He might be no more than a transitional champion. But what they'll have done is that Dolph Ziggler could win the title at SummerSlam. Actually, lose it a couple weeks later to someone else on SmackDown. But with Roman Reigns getting busted and coming back at Battleground and losing the title, that shows you, a major player in Roman Reigns at that point losing a title at at a low scale pay-per-view shows you that WWE just wanted it gone from him immediately. They wanted it gone from him, and they wanted him in another program, and that was it. So that's what they did. But they couldn't give it to Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins was gonna stay on the Raw brand, and then the title was gonna move to SmackDown. So they gave it to Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose goes to SmackDown, and now we're stuck in a situation where Roman Reigns is in a program with in a program with Rusev for the U.S. title, and then have Seth Rollins face whoever was going to be. Whoever won the tournament, which is now Finn Balor. What we have now is this. Dean Ambrose is stuck in a position where he came up. He came up as World Heavyweight Champion. But this is the same type of thing that happened when Rob Van Dam got busted and he had to lose the title a couple nights later. So, let's do it like this. With Dean Ambrose doing what he did via the Stone Cold podcast, putting on a very awkward podcast, getting called out by Stone Cold 3 or 4 times to open up, and not doing it. That got him a lot of flack. I know that Stone Cold always asks the hard questions. It's not his fault. It's his podcast. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. I don't care. Dean Ambrose, on the other hand, was very closed-ended. Ended everything, nipped all these questions in the butt, and that was it. So, the thing I want now is that I want that title off of Dean Ambrose. How do we do it? We give it to someone that came out of left field, who we didn't expect to win it, in Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler's cutting the best promos I've ever seen him cut in the last couple of years. The stuff he's doing is gold. Burning Brooklyn to the ground. He's that damn good. This is good stuff he's doing. These are great promos. You can say those same lines, give them to anyone else, and they're not going to be gold. But the delivery that Dolph Ziggler did with it, it makes you think that he's actually striving to win this. The Dolph Ziggler's visibly cutting better promos than Dean Ambrose is. If I were running creative, I would make a very convincing argument to let Dolph go over Dean at SummerSlam. I really think that Dolph Ziggler is he's going to win the title, but he himself is going to be a placeholder for someone else. But they don't want the title on Dean past SummerSlam. Because at Survivor Series or at whatever pay-per-view SmackDown's going to have, they can cut a better scenario where a better person holding a more effective champion holding the title would win it. It's just hard for me to believe that Dean Ambrose has the World Heavyweight title. I wanted him to have it, but now that he has it, it's kind of like, well, he's not cutting promos as well as Dolph Ziggler is. The glaring weaknesses that Dean Ambrose has is getting exposed. The Lunatic Fringe stuff is cool. I like that. But for him to cut promos all monotone with no delivery, never raising his voice, never being theatrical with his voice, it just doesn't do it for me. Sorry to rant, but I know that Dolph Ziggler has a better moveset than that of Dean Ambrose. I know that he's better on the mic than Dean Ambrose, and a lot more marketable at that. The only downside to that of Dolph Ziggler is that he has been in and out of the title picture so much, has been up and down on the mid-card so much, is that people are not sold on Dolph Ziggler winning this. Which is why all the reason you should believe that WWE would be so surprising to you that they'll just let him win it. It's very convincing. It's extremely convincing, actually. If that didn't convince you that he might win it, then I don't know what to tell you. But you could feel the dichotomy of the two people. You can see that Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose are both at the polar opposite. Where Dean Ambrose doesn't, there's no spark when it comes to the kid. With Dolph Ziggler, it looks, sorry to jump into kayfabe, but damn, he cuts better promos. He does things a lot more effectively than that of Dean Ambrose. But anyway, not to ramble on, let's go into what I can expect from this. Dolph Ziggler is going to hold on to his promise. I know for the fact of the matter is that they're actually going to put on a hell of a match. Dean Ambrose wanted to put on a hell of a match with Brock Lesnar, as he told on the podcast, but he was not able to because Brock Lesnar was being, wouldn't say sluggish, but he was not listening to Dean Ambrose. So what I can tell you is this. Both of them want to put on a good match. Whatever the outcome that they have in the locker room, whoever goes over, it'll be a good match that'll go back and forth with several close 2 counts and the whole jazz. But the main thing to take away is this. They need to let Dolph win it. They just need to. Dean, you can tell me, oh yeah, Dean Ambrose is when you tell me that Dean Ambrose wins the World Heavyweight title, I look at him and I'm like, wow. It just doesn't do it for me. So, with that being said, Dolph Ziggler, this could be the time where Dolph Ziggler tells you, well, I don't think I'm going to retire, because there were several reports saying he was going to retire at the end of 2016. So, who knows? This might be a last hurrah for him to get the title and bounce. Who knows? But anyway, what I expect, I'm going to do a bold prediction here, and I think that Dolph Ziggler is going to win the title after what I expect of what I anticipate. Dean Ambrose being nothing but a placeholder for the title, being nothing more than an interim champion, and that's how I go with that. The next match we have is Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. This match will be the first for the Universal title. This will be an iconic match, putting two of the best wrestlers today from the independent circuit to now the professional circuit at WWE. They put them in two of the best today, putting on a match for a title that no one has even touched. Does Finn Balor, the Demon King, fresh off of NXT, put his name in WWE history books as the first Universal Champ? Does he win the Universal title? Or does Seth Rollins, the Architect, the only one to hold the US and the World title at the same time, become the new face of Raw with the Universal title? Finn, as the Demon King, will make a hell of a debut at SummerSlam, and this will be an iconic match between the two. I don't need to tell you how it's going to go because we both, you and I, you listening to this podcast already know what both of these guys can do. They're going to put on a hell of a match. They might put on the match. They will put on a top 10 match this year. I guarantee it. I also promise you that Finn Balor is going to win the title. He's going to be the first Universal Champion. The reason why is because you do not build someone up so much to the point where he's going to lose the title. I mean, he's not going to lose the title, but he will lose the match. Seth Rollins has a claim so far and wide that he is at almost nearing the position of what John Cena can do, where he could put on a match and make you forget about his last feud in which he lost. So, with that being said, Finn Balor is in a spot where he's fresh off the block. He cannot lose this, because if not, he immediately gets buried into the mid-card, and that's where he doesn't want to be. That's where he doesn't deserve to be, because the guy can put on a hell of a show. I have Finn Balor winning it clean over Seth Rollins, but I also have Samoa Joe interrupting the same match at the very end. Who knows, might get in a feud with the Seth Rollins, to build for like a number one contender spot. Who knows? But I know for a fact that Samoa Joe's going to be there. I know it. Damn it. So the next match that we have on this card here is Orton versus Lesnar. Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar. This match, this match is so cookie cutter that you already know what's going to happen. I can immediately go into expectations because we all know what we have here on this table. We have Randy Orton, fresh off of an injury since early last year, and we also have Brock Lesnar, the Beast. This guy, Brock Lesnar, has been built up to be a beast. He has yet to lose. He has yet to lose cleanly. He's lost by shady means at SummerSlam the year before against The Undertaker, but with that of Randy Orton, now we need, between the two guys, it's like this. Brock Lesnar's at a point now where he needs to keep building this up till the next WrestleMania, until his contract expires. Who knows? Randy Orton, he could take another loss. At this point, Randy Orton doesn't really need to win against Brock Lesnar. What's going to happen is this. Both of them get into the ring. Brock Lesnar does his suplex bit. He keeps doing his suplex stuff. They keep, doing exchanges and it gets a little back and forth between the two. Randy Orton does his little comeback. Randy Orton does his little, power slam off the ropes. But then this is what happens. Brock Lesnar suplexes him again. He puts him up for the F5, right? Crowd's cheering. All of Brooklyn's on their feet. And then all of a sudden, Randy Orton hits a RKO out of nowhere. It's going to be one of those moves that they've been planning for so long that it actually happens and you're like, wow. He just hit an F5 out of an RKO. He hit an RKO out of an F5. That's incredible. The F5 is damn near unstoppable. So then this is what happens. Brock Lesnar kicks out. He suplexes some more. Randy Orton goes for another little comeback. RKOs him again. Kicks out. Kicks out Brock Lesnar does. Randy Orton's shocked. Doesn't know what's going on. He's like, what the hell? I'm supposed to be the guy that's going to take this guy to Viperville. Nope. Brock Lesnar takes him back to Suplex City. Gives him a few more suplexes. Brooklyn knows what to expect now. Randy Orton tries to mount a comeback with another RKO. He hits 3 of them. I guarantee you he hits 3 of them. And Brock kicks out. Brock will kick out of all of those RKOs. And then this is what happens. Brock Lesnar gets him up for the F5. 1, 2, 3. That's exactly what's going to happen. Because they're going to be building him up for another match against Goldberg at WrestleMania. Goldberg, as you know, has done his Sting thing as far as being on the cover of WWE, not being on the cover, but being a downloadable character, and all the shenanigans going back and forth where Brock Lesnar told Bill Goldberg that he's next. It's gonna be they're gonna have a Bill Goldberg Brock Lesnar 2. You can book it. I promise you that's gonna happen. This is building up nothing more than a track record for Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Randy Orton's just gonna be another pawn in this big chess game that leads up to the checkmate between the King, Brock Lesnar, and against Bill Goldberg. So, this is what we're going to be waiting for. Promise you, Randy Orton's going to do about 3 RKOs, and Brock Lesnar's going to kick out all of them. I already know that Randy Orton's going to RKO out of an F5. I could see that a mile away. But Brock Lesnar's going to take the victory. There's no other way. You can book it, pretty much. The next match we have on this card is no match at all, but matter of fact, we have NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2. I'm going to do a quick little fire round here. This match card rivals SummerSlam. It's very it's scorching hot with independent talent, star power. It's not even funny. First match we have is Austin Aries versus No Way Jose. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. No Way Jose is very entertaining as this dancer, positive guy, role model. He can take another loss. He could take a loss and still be entertaining. So Austin Aries, who took a loss to Nakamura at the last Takeover, the last time him and Nakamura went at it, Austin Aries needs his victory more than No Way Jose. So Austin Aries is going to take it. Bobby Roode versus Andrade Cien Almas. Bobby Roode does not have a glorious theme song for nothing. He's going to win over Andrade Cien Almas in convincing fashion. There's nothing more to say about that because, to me, they're squandering the talent, which is Andrade Cien Almas, with the outfit that he wears. I don't know if he did that by choice. That's neither here nor there, but anyway. Next match we have is the Revival versus Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. The Revival do not need these titles anymore. They're 2-time winners. They're going to take that title prestige over to, let me think. They're going to take that title prestige over to SmackDown because they're going to be facing American Alpha. They're going to have a little tag team program coming in a couple months. So Revival loses to Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Both the Revival goes to SmackDown immediately after in a month. And the next one we have there, with Tommaso. No, I'm sorry to take away from Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, but both of them, if you guys are watching the Cruiserweight Classic, these guys put on a fucking great match. Trust me, if you guys aren't watching this Cruiserweight Classic, you guys are missing out. I don't know what to tell you guys. The next match on the docket, Asuka versus Bayley 2. From the point that we have here, I think Bayley just might lose this again. Asuka is at a point where she could still be a great independent act within NXT, still carry on the championship. Asuka has more to lose in this situation, so I want her to retain over Bayley. Bayley can still be lovable and cheerful and take all that bubblegum crap to like the Raw brand because she's already been introduced at a major pay-per-view, so she's already has this track record with the main audience. So Bayley gets shot over to Raw a couple months after. Next match here, Samoa Joe versus Nakamura. Samoa Joe has the NXT title. Nakamura isn't going to lose. Nakamura's going to take the title from Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe then loses, gets heated, leaves the ring. Samoa Joe figures out, you know what? After Finn Balor wins this title, I'm going to rush out to that stage and show everyone what the hell I'm made out of. He's going to invade the main event after Seth Rollins loses to Finn Balor, and during the celebration, Finn Balor gets attacked by Samoa Joe outside of the ring. Boom. There you guys have it. SummerSlam, NXT Revival. You could book all my predictions. I'm going to have them written down. And you know what? The next podcast I do with Pay-Per-View Wrestling Podcast, I will eat my just desserts. And if I don't get these predictions right, I'll explain them. And we'll go from there. But anyway, I want to let you guys know that this Pay-Per-View Wrestling Podcast has been brought to you by none other than my proud sponsor, Game Swappers. Game Swappers. Buy, sell, and trade your retro games and next-gen consoles. That's PS4 and Xbox One. You can come into contact with Game Swappers only via Instagram at GAMESWAPPERS. That's GAMESWAPPERS. Game Swappers. Buy, sell, and trade. Keep in mind, guys, that if you do share this great pay-per-view wrestling podcast with anyone through any means of social media, you will get an immediate 10% discount towards any games you purchase at Game Swappers in-store or online through their Instagram page. All you have to do is take a screenshot of what you shared through any means of social media, share it, and then make sure you let us know on the Game Swappers page. And then all you have to do is you'll be able to get your discounts right away. That's all you have to do. That's the only thing you do after that. 10% more towards your trade-ins or 10% off towards your retro game purchases at Game Swappers. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning into this pay-per-view wrestling podcast. I want to let you guys know is that I'm also looking for other advertisers. If you know anyone that's looking for additional advertisement for their small business, be sure to let them know about my podcast and my podcast channel. We're on the eve of 5,000 plays in less than 6 months. I really hold that to a high regard. I average about 150 plays a week. You know, if that means anything, 150 plays a week through all three channels. Through all three podcasts. So that can be more presentation for their small business or even your small business. Whatever it may be, just make sure you contact me through my means of social media. Also, there's more information on the Spreaker.com webpage on my podcast channel. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment on this podcast or any comment on any of the podcasts that I do on a weekly basis. Other than that, you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys at SummerSlam. Peace.